Welcome to Little English Studio, where English learning meets the inspiring stories of the world's greatest people. Here, we tell life journeys in clear and simple English, so you can improve your English while discovering wisdom, struggle, and hope. Today, we bring you the fascinating story of Sergey Prokudin-Gorsky, the man who gave color to history. Sergey Mikhailovich Prokudin-Gorsky was born on August 30, 1863, in the city of Funikovo Gora, in the Vladimir Governorate of the Russian Empire. He grew up during a period of great change in Russia, a land of vast beauty, rich traditions, but also deep divisions between the nobility, peasants, and the growing middle class. From a young age, Sergey showed a deep curiosity about the world. He loved science, music, and above all, the power of light. While many of his classmates dreamed of military service or government jobs, Sergey dreamed of capturing the beauty of life with precision and truth. He studied at the Imperial Technical School in St. Petersburg, where he was trained in chemistry, physics, and engineering. These disciplines gave him the scientific foundation that would later allow him to revolutionize photography. In the late 19th century, photography was still new and limited. Most photographs were in black and white, with only rare hand-painted images giving the illusion of color. Sergey was not satisfied. He believed that the future of photography must show the world as it truly was in full natural color. To achieve this, he traveled across Europe to study with leading scientists and photographers. He worked with Gabriel Lippmann, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist in France, who had pioneered methods of color photography. Prokudin-Gorsky absorbed these ideas and began experimenting with three-color photography, a technique that involved taking three separate photos of the same subject, each through a red, green, and blue filter. By combining these images, he could recreate the true colors of life. This was revolutionary. For the first time, people could see nature, architecture, and human faces in color, not just as shadows of black and white. In the early 1900s, Prokudin-Gorsky had an idea. He wanted to document the entire Russian Empire in color. At the time, Russia stretched from Europe to Asia, vast, diverse, and filled with many ethnic groups, traditions, and landscapes. His dream was ambitious, to photograph not only the aristocracy, but also peasants, workers, scientists, mosques, monasteries, markets, factories, and schools, the full spectrum of Russian life. In 1909, he presented his project to Tsar Nicholas II, the last emperor of Russia. The Tsar was impressed. He granted Prokudin-Gorsky a special train car, complete with a darkroom, so that he could travel across the empire. He also gave him access to restricted sites, like factories and monasteries normally closed to outsiders. For the next 6 years, Sergey embarked on one of the greatest photographic journeys in history. Prokudin-Gorsky traveled thousands of miles, photographing people and places with his large camera and fragile glass plates. His subjects were incredibly diverse, the ancient churches of Novgorod and Rostov shining with medieval architecture, the mosques and Islamic schools of Central Asia filled with beauty and tradition, the Volga River landscapes showing boats, villages, and fishermen at work, the railroads and factories of the new industrial age, the faces of ordinary Russians, peasants harvesting, children studying, soldiers standing guard, and women in traditional dress. Each photograph required patience and skill. Because the process involved 3 separate exposures, the subjects often had to remain still for several seconds. Yet the result was astonishing. The images glowed with life. For the first time in history, the people of Russia could see themselves in color. Prokudin-Gorsky believed his work was more than photography. It was a cultural mission. He said, "In order to know a country well, one must see it in its variety and its full color." He hoped that his images would be used in schools, so that children could learn about the diversity of the empire. He wanted to create a visual encyclopedia, a memory bank of traditions, architecture, and people that could last for generations. Unknowingly, he was preserving a world that would soon vanish. In 1917, the Russian Revolution began. The Tsar was overthrown and the empire collapsed into civil war. Prokudin-Gorsky's world was turned upside down. Many of the places he had photographed, churches, palaces, villages, were destroyed or transformed in the years that followed. His project was halted, and he found himself on the wrong side of history. In 1918, Prokudin-Gorsky fled Russia with his family. He carried with him a portion of his photographic plates, though many were left behind. He settled first in Norway, then in France, where he continued to lecture and work, but never again with the same resources or support he had enjoyed in Russia. In Paris, Prokudin-Gorsky lived modestly. He gave talks, wrote about photography, and continued to dream of a world where his images could inspire education and understanding. Yet his work remained relatively unknown. Color photography was still rare and expensive, and his contributions seemed forgotten in the chaos of two world wars. He died in 1944, during the German occupation of France, largely unknown to the wider world. For decades, his name faded into obscurity. But in the 1940s, the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. acquired thousands of his glass negatives. They remained in storage until the early 21st century, when digital technology made it possible to reconstruct his three-color images with stunning clarity. Suddenly, the world could see the Russian Empire as it truly looked more than 100 years ago, in vivid color. His photographs went viral on the internet, shared in museums, books, and online exhibitions. Prokudin-Gorsky's work is now considered one of the most important photographic archives in history. He gave us not only art, but memory, the faces, landscapes, and traditions of a world long gone. Sergey Prokudin-Gorsky's life teaches us a simple but powerful truth. To preserve history is to honor humanity. Through his lens, we see that every culture, every tradition, and every person has value. Even when his own life was full of struggle and exile, his images endured, carrying the beauty of an entire civilization into the future. He did not just take photographs. He painted with light, with patience, and with love for humanity. And thanks to him, history will never be just black and white. This is the story of Sergey Prokudin-Gorsky, the man who gave color to Russia and to history.